London, 1805. Lady Isabelle Hawthorne had married the Duke of Ashford in a political arrangement. His family needed her dowry, she needed escape from her abusive brother. They were strangers bound by contract, nothing more. The Duke was cold, distant, treating their marriage as pure transaction. Isabelle expected nothing beyond formal courtesy. Then, as she prepared for their wedding night, the Duke saw the scars covering her back, evidence of years of brutality she had hidden beneath elegant gowns. What he did next shattered every assumption Isabelle had about their marriage, and proved that sometimes the coldest arrangements become the warmest loves when truth is finally seen. If stories like this move you, please subscribe to Velvet Tales. Every subscription helps us share more extraordinary tales of survival, second chances, and the unbreakable bonds between humans and animals. Your support means these incredible true stories reach hearts that need them most. Isabelle stood in her new bedchamber at Ashford Manor, her hands trembling as her maid helped her undress. This was her wedding night. In an hour, the Duke would come to consummate their marriage of convenience. "Are you well, my lady?" Mary, her maid, asked with concern. "You are shaking." "I'm fine, just cold." Isabelle was not cold. She was terrified. Not of the Duke, she barely knew him. They had met twice before the wedding, both brief, formal encounters. He had been polite but distant, making clear this marriage was pure transaction. No, Isabelle was terrified of what he would see. The scars, the evidence of years of abuse from her brother Edward, who had controlled her life since their parents died. Edward had beaten her regularly, punishment for any perceived defiance, any sign of independence. He had been careful to strike where bruises would not show in fashionable gowns. Her back, her sides, her upper arms, places easily hidden by fabric and corsets. The Duke knew none of this. No one did. Isabelle had hidden her suffering behind perfect posture and practiced smiles. But tonight, the Duke would see her undressed, would see the scars crisscrossing her back, would see the evidence of brutality she had concealed from the world. What would he do? Would he be disgusted? Would he send her away? Would he demand annulment, claiming she had deceived him about her undamaged state? "My lady, shall I prepare your nightgown?" Mary held up the white silk garment, delicate, revealing, designed for wedding nights. "Yes. Thank you, Mary." Mary helped Isabelle into the nightgown. The silk was soft against her scarred skin. The back was low cut, revealing the worst of the damage. There was no hiding tonight. After Mary left, Isabelle stood before the mirror. The nightgown was beautiful, but through the thin fabric and the low back, her scars were visible. Raised lines, some old and white, others newer and still pink. She looked like damaged goods, like something broken beyond repair. A knock made her jump. "Lady Isabelle? May I enter?" The Duke. Isabelle's heart raced. "Yes, Your Grace." Adrian Thornton, Duke of Ashford, entered the room. He was tall, dark-haired, perhaps 35, handsome in a severe way. He wore a dark dressing gown and carried himself with the rigid formality he had shown throughout their brief courtship. "Good evening, Lady Isabelle." "Your Grace." Isabelle curtsied, keeping her back to the wall, trying to delay the inevitable moment when he would see. The Duke closed the door. "I want to discuss expectations for tonight. This marriage is a practical arrangement. I need an heir. You needed escape from your brother's household. We can approach this obligation practically, without pretense of affection." His words were cold, clinical. Isabelle felt relief mixed with hurt. At least he was honest. But his coldness made clear he would never see her as more than duty. "I understand, Your Grace." "Adrian, you may call me Adrian when we are private, and I shall call you Isabelle. Formality seems excessive given the circumstances." "Very well, Adrian." He studied her, his expression unreadable. "Are you frightened?" "Somewhat. I have no experience with this aspect of marriage. I will be gentle. I will not hurt you. Isabelle, this may be a practical arrangement, but I am not cruel. Do you understand?" She nodded, feeling tears threaten. He promised not to hurt her, but he would see her scars and know someone had hurt her repeatedly, brutally, for years. "Shall we proceed?" Adrian's voice was matter of fact, as if discussing business terms. "Yes." Isabelle turned slowly, presenting her back, unable to watch his face when he saw. She heard his sharp intake of breath, then silence. Long, terrible silence. "Isabelle," His voice had changed, no longer cold, but shocked. "You're back. What happened to you?" She could not answer. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She felt his hand, gentle on her shoulder. "Isabelle, please look at me." She turned. His expression had transformed, no longer cold and distant, but filled with horror and something like fury. "Who did this to you?" "My brother, Edward, for years, since our parents died when I was 14. The words spilled out. "He controlled everything. My life, my money, my choices. If I disobeyed, he punished me. He was careful to strike where it would not show. No one knew." Adrian's jaw tightened. "He beat you, repeatedly, severely enough to leave these scars." "Yes. And you married me to escape him." "Yes, I am sorry I did not tell you. I should have disclosed this before the wedding. If you want annulment—" "Stop." His voice was firm. "Isabelle, I do not want annulment, but I do want truth. Why did you hide this?" "Because I am damaged. Because I thought if you knew you would refuse the marriage. Adrian, I needed escape. Edward was becoming more violent. I was afraid he would kill me eventually. Your offer of marriage was my only chance." Adrian stared at her, processing what she had said. "You thought I would refuse to marry you because you were abused. Isabelle, that makes no sense. The abuse was not your fault. But I am damaged, scarred, not the pristine bride a duke deserves." "Pristine?" Adrian's voice hardened. "Isabelle, those scars are not damage. They are evidence of survival. You endured years of brutality and remained strong enough to find escape. That is not damaged. That is extraordinary." Isabelle could not believe what she was hearing. "You are not disgusted?" "Disgusted? No. Furious that someone hurt you repeatedly? Yes. Isabelle, I am angry. Not at you, but at your brother. What he did was unconscionable. You should have been protected. Instead, you were tortured in your own home." "You called it torture, because that is what it was. Systematic violence designed to control you. That is torture, not discipline. Isabelle, your brother is a monster." She felt something break inside her. Years of holding pain privately, of pretending everything was fine, of believing she deserved the abuse. Adrian's words, his clear condemnation of Edward, his recognition of what she had endured, shattered her careful control. She started crying. Not quiet tears, but deep sobs that shook her whole body. Adrian moved closer. "May I hold you?" She nodded, unable to speak. He pulled her into his arms carefully, mindful of her scarred back. She buried her face in his chest and cried, for the years of pain, for the fear, for the loneliness of suffering in silence. He held her without speaking, one hand gently stroking her hair, not demanding anything, just offering presence. When her sobs finally subsided, she pulled back. "I am sorry, I should not have—" "You have nothing to apologize for. Isabelle, you survived something terrible. You are allowed to feel it. But this was supposed to be our wedding night. You said you needed an heir. I am ruining everything." Adrian's expression softened. "Isabelle, look at me. Do you honestly believe I could proceed with consummating our marriage after learning you were beaten for years? After seeing evidence of that trauma on your body? What kind of man do you think I am? A practical one. You said this marriage was transaction. It is transaction. But I am not a monster. Isabelle, you just revealed years of abuse. You are clearly distressed. I will not add to that trauma by treating you as obligation tonight. Our marriage can wait. But you need an heir. I need an heir eventually. Not tonight. Isabelle, we have years ahead of us. One night will not matter. But rushing you, pressuring you when you are vulnerable, that would matter. That would damage any possibility of this marriage becoming tolerable." Isabelle stared at him. "You are being kind. I am being decent. That should not surprise you. But you said this marriage was practical without affection." "It is practical, but practical does not require cruelty. Isabelle, I can be honest about this marriage being arrangement while still treating you with basic humanity. Those are not contradictory." She felt something shift inside her. The Duke, Adrian, was not what she expected. Cold and distant, yes, but not cruel, not uncaring. He had seen her scars and responded with compassion, not disgust. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "Now you rest. Tomorrow we discuss how to make this marriage work. Isabelle, I cannot offer you romantic love, but I can offer safety, respect, and time to heal. Is that acceptable?" "Yes, more than acceptable." Adrian, Thank you. Do not thank me for basic decency. You deserve far better than you have received. I may not be able to give you everything, but I can give you safety. That is non-negotiable. After Adrian left, Isabelle lay in bed, processing what had happened. She had expected cold transaction, mechanical consummation, distant tolerance. Instead, Adrian had seen her worst secret, the scars she had hidden from everyone, and responded with compassion. He had prioritized her well-being over his own needs. He had called her extraordinary, not damaged. For the first time in years, Isabelle felt something like hope. The next morning, Adrian requested her presence at breakfast. Isabelle went nervously, unsure what to expect. He stood when she entered. "Good morning, Isabelle. Did you sleep well?" "Yes, thank you. And you?" "Adequately." He gestured to a chair. "Please sit. We need to discuss several matters." After servants brought food and left them alone, Adrian spoke. "First, about your brother. Edward cannot be allowed near you again. I have instructed my staff that he is not welcome at any property I own. If he attempts contact, I will be informed immediately. He will be angry. He expects to continue receiving my dowry income. Your dowry is now mine per marriage contract. Edward has no legal claim. Isabelle, he controlled you through fear and money. I am removing both levers. He cannot hurt you anymore. He might try. Let him try. He will discover I am not intimidated by abusive bullies. Isabelle, you are Duchess of Ashford now. You have my protection and my considerable resources. Edward has lost his victim." Isabelle felt tears threaten again. "Why are you doing this? Last night you said this marriage was transaction without affection. Why protect me so fiercely?" Adrian was quiet for a moment. "Because I may be cold, but I am not heartless. Isabelle, I cannot offer you love. My first wife died in childbirth 5 years ago. I loved her deeply. That capacity died with her. But I can offer protection, respect, and basic human decency. Your brother violated all three. I will not allow that to continue. You were married before?" "Yes, to Catherine. We were happy. When she died, something in me broke. I became what you see now, cold, distant, capable of transaction, but not affection. That is why I proposed this practical marriage. I need heirs, but I cannot offer romantic love. I thought you understood that. I did. I do. Adrian, I did not expect love. I just wanted safety. What you are offering is more than I hoped for. Then we understand each other. This marriage is practical arrangement. But within that arrangement, I will ensure you are safe, respected, and treated well. Is that acceptable?" "Yes, completely acceptable." Over the following weeks, Isabelle and Adrian settled into married life. It was strange. They were polite, respectful, but distant. Adrian spent most days managing his estates. Isabelle managed the household. They dined together each evening, discussing practical matters, but nothing personal. It was exactly what Adrian had promised, practical arrangement without affection. And yet Isabelle found herself watching him, noticing small kindnesses, the way he always ensured she was comfortable, how he listened when she spoke, the respect he showed her opinions on household management. He was cold, yes, distant, certainly, but never cruel, never dismissive. He treated her with more respect than anyone had in years. 1 month into their marriage, Edward appeared at Ashford Manor. Isabelle was in the garden when she heard raised voices at the front entrance. "I demand to see my sister. You cannot keep me from her." "Edward." Isabelle felt terror grip her. She ran toward the house, afraid of what he might do. She found Edward arguing with Adrian in the entrance hall. Edward looked furious. Adrian looked cold and unmoved. "Your sister is the Duchess of Ashford. You have no authority over her. I have asked you to leave. If you refuse, I will have you forcibly removed." "She is my sister. I have every right." "You have no rights. You abused her for years. You beat her until her back was covered in scars. You terrorized her in her own home. Those actions forfeited any familial claim. Leave, now." Edward saw Isabelle. "Isabelle, tell him to let me in." Isabelle felt the old fear, the instinct to obey, to appease, to avoid Edward's anger. But she looked at Adrian, standing between her and Edward like an immovable wall, and she found courage. "No, Edward, Adrian is right. You hurt me for years. I will not allow you near me again. Leave." Edward's face twisted with rage. "You ungrateful. I gave you everything. You gave me pain and fear. Now leave my home. I will ruin you. I will tell everyone. Tell them what? Adrian's voice was ice. That you beat your sister repeatedly? That you left her covered in scars? Please, tell everyone. Let society judge which of us is dishonorable. I assure you, it will not be my wife. Edward lunged toward Isabelle. Adrian moved faster, blocking him and grabbing his arm with surprising strength. Touch my wife and I will break every bone in your hand. Then I will have you arrested for assault. Leave now, or face consequences you will not enjoy. Edward wrenched free, backing toward the door. This is not over. Yes, it is. You no longer have power here. Isabelle is under my protection. If you ever threaten her again, I will destroy you financially, socially, and legally. Do you understand? Edward left without answering. After he was gone, Isabelle started shaking. Adrian turned to her. Are you all right? Yes. No. I do not know. Seeing him, all the fear came back. Come. Sit. Adrian led her to the drawing room, settled her on a sofa. Breathe, you are safe, he cannot hurt you here. What if he returns? What if... Then I will remove him again. Isabelle, I meant what I said. You are under my protection. Edward no longer has power over you. She looked at him. Why do you care so much? You said you could not offer affection, but Adrian, what you just did, defending me so fiercely, that seems like more than practical arrangement. He was quiet for a long moment. Perhaps it is. Isabelle, I said I could not offer romantic love. I meant that. But I have come to care about your well-being. You have been hurt enough. I will not allow it to continue. You care about me? In my own limited way, yes. Not love, but genuine concern for your happiness and safety. I realize that is insufficient. It is not insufficient. Adrian, it is more than I expected, more than I thought possible. He looked at her intently. I want to be clear about something. This marriage is still practical arrangement. I am still cold and distant. I still cannot give you the affection you deserve. But within those limitations, I find I want to protect you, to ensure you are happy, to make this marriage as tolerable as possible. Is that acceptable? Yes, more than acceptable. 2 months into their marriage, Isabelle received a letter from Edward, threatening, vicious, promising revenge for her betrayal. She showed it to Adrian. He read it, his expression hardening. This is criminal threat. I am taking this to authorities. Will that not cause scandal? I do not care about scandal. Isabelle, your brother is threatening you. That will not be tolerated. But if this becomes public, then it becomes public. I will not allow fear of scandal to leave you vulnerable. Your safety matters more than society's opinion. He filed formal complaint. Edward was warned that further harassment would result in arrest. The scandal was exactly as Isabelle feared. Whispers, speculation, judgment. But Adrian faced it all without flinching. When people questioned him, he stated simply, "My wife was abused by her brother. I am protecting her. Anyone who finds that objectionable can avoid my presence." Most people confronted with such directness backed down. Some even expressed support. One evening, after a particularly difficult social event where several people had asked invasive questions, Adrian found Isabelle crying in her chamber. "What is wrong?" "The scandal, the gossip. Adrian, I have ruined your reputation." He sat beside her. "You have ruined nothing." "Isabelle, people gossip because they are small-minded. That is their failing, not yours. I knew there would be scandal. I chose your safety anyway. But why? You barely know me. This marriage is just transaction." "It started as transaction. But Isabelle, somewhere over these past 2 months it became more, not romance. I cannot offer that. But partnership, respect, genuine concern. You matter to me. Therefore your safety and happiness matter. Scandal is irrelevant compared to that. You keep saying you cannot offer affection. But Adrian, everything you do shows care. How is that not affection?" He considered carefully. "Perhaps it is affection, just not romantic love. I care about you deeply, Isabelle, but I do not feel the passion I felt for Catherine. I do not experience the romantic emotions others describe. What I feel is quieter, steadier, protective care rather than passionate love. Is that acceptable to you?" "Yes. Adrian, I never expected passionate love. I just wanted safety and respect. What you are giving me is extraordinary." 3 months into their marriage, Adrian asked something unexpected. "Isabelle, would you join me for dinner in my private study tonight? I want to discuss something." She agreed nervously. They had maintained separate bedchambers since the wedding night. Adrian had never pressed for consummation, saying she needed time to heal from her trauma. She wondered if he was finally going to demand his rights. That evening, she joined him in his study. He had arranged an intimate dinner. Candles, wine, comfortable seating near the fireplace. "This is lovely," she said, surprised. "I wanted privacy for this conversation." He poured wine, handed her a glass. "Isabelle, we have been married 3 months. I have not pressed for consummation because you needed time. But we must discuss this eventually. I need heirs. You agreed to provide them. We need to address this aspect of our marriage." Isabelle's stomach tightened. "Yes, I understand." "Do you? Because you look terrified." "Isabelle, I am not going to force you, but I need to know, are you ready or do you need more time?" She was surprised by the question, by his willingness to wait longer. I do not know. Adrian, I am afraid." "Of me? Or of intimacy generally?" "Of pain. Edward used to say I was worthless, that no man would want damaged goods. I am afraid you will find me disappointing, or that it will hurt, and I will fail to hide my reaction, and you will be angry." Adrian set down his wine carefully. "Isabelle, I need you to understand something. I am not your brother. I will never hurt you deliberately. If anything causes you pain or distress, you tell me immediately and we stop. Do you believe that?" "I want to believe it." "Then let me prove it, not tonight. I'm not asking for consummation now. But let me show you that intimacy does not have to be frightening." "How?" He moved closer, slowly, giving her time to object. "So may I touch you? Just your hand." She nodded. He took her hand gently, his thumb stroking across her knuckles. The touch was warm, careful, nothing like Edward's violent strikes. "This is intimacy. Simple touch. Does it frighten you?" "No." "Good. May I touch your face?" She nodded again. He cupped her cheek, his touch feather-light. She found herself leaning into it. "You are not disappointing, Isabelle. You are not damaged goods. You are a woman who survived terrible circumstances. That makes you strong, not worthless. Do you understand?" "I'm trying to. May I kiss you? If you dislike it, we stop immediately." "Yes." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to retreat. His lips touched hers gently, soft, warm, nothing demanding, just tender contact. When he pulled back, she was breathless. "That was nice." He smiled slightly. "Good. Isabelle, this is what I want you to understand. Intimacy can be gentle. It can be pleasurable. It does not have to involve pain or fear. When we eventually consummate our marriage, I want you to experience pleasure, not trauma. Does that make sense?" "Yes. But Adrian, you said you could not offer affection. I said I could not offer romantic love, but physical intimacy that I can offer with care and patience. Isabelle, I may not love you romantically, but I do care about your well-being. I want our marriage bed to be a place of comfort, not trauma. That requires time and patience. I am willing to provide both." Over the following weeks, Adrian continued his careful approach. Gentle touches, tender kisses. Nothing demanding, just slowly teaching Isabelle that intimacy could be safe. He never pressed beyond what she was comfortable with, always asked permission, always stopped if she showed any distress. Isabelle found herself relaxing, trusting, even looking forward to the evenings they spent together, where Adrian would hold her, kiss her, talk with her about everything and nothing. "Why are you doing this?" she asked one evening, resting against his chest as they sat by the fire. "Taking so much time, being so patient." "Because you deserve patience. Isabelle, you were trained to associate physical touch with pain. I am training you to associate it with safety. That takes time. I have time. But you need heirs. I need heirs eventually, not immediately. What I need immediately is for you to trust me. That is more important." 4 months into their marriage, Isabelle woke from a nightmare. Edward beating her, Adrian watching and laughing, everyone telling her she deserved it. She was crying when Adrian appeared at her door. He had heard her scream. "Isabelle, what is wrong?" She told him about the nightmare through sobs. Without asking, he climbed into her bed and held her. "You are safe. Edward cannot hurt you. I would never laugh at your pain. You do not deserve abuse. You deserve safety and care. Do you believe me?" "I am trying to." "Then let me stay tonight. Not for intimacy, just for comfort. Let me prove you are safe." She nodded. He held her all night, one hand gently stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances whenever she stirred. When she woke in the morning, he was still there, still holding her. She felt something shift inside her, a trust deeper than she had expected to feel. "Adrian?" "Yes? Thank you. For staying. Always. Isabelle, I meant what I said months ago. You are under my protection. That includes protection from nightmares, from fears, from anything that distresses you. I take that responsibility seriously. Why? You keep saying this is practical marriage without romantic love. But Adrian, what you do, the patience, the care, the protection, that seems like more than practicality." He was quiet for a moment. "Perhaps my definitions are insufficient. Perhaps what I feel is a form of love, even if it is not the passionate romance I experienced with Catherine. Isabelle, I care about you deeply. I want you happy and safe. I think about you constantly. Is that not a kind of love?" "Yes, I think it is. Then perhaps I have been wrong. Perhaps I am capable of love after all. Just a different kind, quieter, built on trust and respect rather than passion. Is that enough for you?" "It is everything to me. Adrian, I never expected passion. I just wanted safety. What you are giving me is more than I dreamed possible. Then let us build from here. This marriage started as cold transaction, but it has become something real, something worth nurturing. Isabelle, I may not have passion to offer, but I have steady care and genuine affection. Will you accept that?" "Yes, gladly." 5 months into their marriage, Isabelle finally felt ready. She went to Adrian's study one evening. "May I speak with you?" "Of course." He set aside his papers. "What do you need?" "I am ready. For our marriage to be fully consummated. I trust you, Adrian. I want to move forward." He studied her carefully. "Are you certain?" "There is no rush. I am certain. You have been patient for 5 months. You have shown me that intimacy can be safe. I want this. I want our marriage to be complete." "Then come here." She approached. He pulled her into his arms and kissed her, deeper than before, but still gentle. "We go slowly. At any point you feel distressed, we stop, understood?" "Understood." He led her to his bedchamber. What followed was gentle, patient, completely different from what Isabelle had feared. Adrian was careful, attentive to her reactions, ensuring her comfort above his own pleasure. Afterward, he held her close. "Are you all right?" "Yes, more than all right." "Adrian, that was beautiful." "Good. That is what it should be. Mutual comfort and pleasure." "Isabelle, I want you to know something. This marriage has become important to me. You have become important to me. I may not express it with passionate declarations, but what I feel is real. Do you believe that?" "Yes, I feel the same. Adrian, I did not expect to care for you, but I do, deeply. What we have built, it is not the romantic love of novels, but it is real and valuable. Then we are agreed. This marriage is no longer just practical arrangement. It is genuine partnership built on trust, respect, and growing affection. I'm content with that, are you?" "Very content." 6 months into their marriage, Isabelle discovered she was pregnant. She told Adrian at dinner. "I have news. The physician confirmed I am expecting." Adrian's face lit up with genuine joy, the first time she had seen such open emotion from him. "A child, Isabelle, this is extraordinary. Are you truly pleased? I know you said you needed heirs, but I am not pleased because of heirs. I am pleased because this is our child, evidence of what we have built together. Isabelle, I am genuinely happy." The pregnancy progressed smoothly. Adrian was attentive, protective, constantly ensuring Isabelle was comfortable. But as her body changed, Isabelle became self-conscious about her scars. The pregnancy made them more visible as her skin stretched. "I am hideous," she said one evening, examining herself in the mirror. "The scars are so obvious now." Adrian came up behind her. "You are beautiful. Isabelle, those scars do not diminish your beauty. They show your strength. How can you find me beautiful? I am scarred, pregnant, nothing like the elegant wife you deserve." He turned her to face him. "You are exactly the wife I need. Isabelle, I told you months ago, those scars are evidence of survival, not damage. You are carrying our child despite years of abuse that should have broken you. That is extraordinary. You are extraordinary. You truly believe that. I know it. Isabelle, somewhere over these past 6 months, I have fallen in love with you. Not the passionate, consuming love I had with Catherine, but something steadier, deeper, built on knowing who you actually are, your strength, your resilience, your gentle heart despite everything you endured. I love you, not in spite of your scars, but including them. They are part of your story. They are part of what makes you who you are. Isabelle felt tears spill over. You love me? Yes. I did not expect to. I thought that capacity died with Catherine, but you taught me I could feel again, that I could build new love on different foundation. Isabelle, could you possibly feel the same? I already do. Adrian, I love you. I did not expect to fall in love with my practical arrangement husband, but your patience, your care, your protection, you showed me what love actually looks like. Not grand passion, but steady presence. I love you. He kissed her deeply. Then we have built something neither of us expected. Cold transaction became genuine love. I am grateful for that. Their daughter was born 8 months later. They named her Catherine, after Adrian's first wife. Are you certain? Isabelle asked. I do not mind if you want to honor her memory. I am certain. Catherine would have liked you. She would be happy I found love again. Isabelle, naming our daughter after her is not about replacing you. It is about honoring the past while building the future. You and Catherine are both important to me in different ways. I understand. I think it is beautiful. 2 years into their marriage, Edward died in a riding accident. Isabelle felt complicated emotions. Relief, guilt, sadness for what could have been. I should not feel relieved, she told Adrian. He was my brother. He was your abuser. You are allowed to feel relieved that threat is gone. Isabelle, guilt is natural, but do not let it consume you. Edward made choices that hurt you repeatedly. His death does not erase that. Part of me wonders if I could have helped him. If I had been better. Stop. You were a child when he started abusing you. You had no power to change him. Edward's choices were his own. You survived despite him. That is what matters. 5 years into their marriage, they had 3 children, Catherine, James, and baby Elizabeth. Their household was warm, loving, everything Isabelle had never dared hope for. One evening, Adrian found Isabelle in the nursery, watching their children sleep. What are you thinking about? Our wedding night. How cold it started. How terrified I was when you saw my scars. I thought my life was over. Instead, it was beginning. Adrian wrapped his arms around her from behind. I remember that night. I remember seeing those scars and feeling such rage that someone had hurt you. I remember thinking I needed to protect you. I did not know I would fall in love with you. I did not know cold transaction could become this. Adrian, we built something beautiful from painful beginning. We did. Isabelle, do you remember what I said that first night? That your scars were evidence of survival, not damage? Yes, I was right. You survived years of abuse. Then you built life beyond survival. You built happiness, love, family. Those scars are not shame. They are proof you are extraordinary. 10 years into their marriage, Isabelle published a memoir about surviving abuse. She did it anonymously at first, unsure how it would be received. The response was overwhelming. Women across England wrote to the anonymous author, sharing their own stories of abuse, thanking her for giving voice to their experiences. Adrian read the letters with Isabelle. You should reveal yourself as the author. These women need to know that survival is possible, that life after abuse can be beautiful. You are proof of that. But the scandal will be worth it if your story helps others. Isabelle, you have built extraordinary life from painful beginning. Sharing that could save lives. I support you completely. She revealed her authorship. The scandal was immediate. Duchesses did not write about abuse, did not reveal such intimate suffering publicly. But Adrian defended her fiercely. My wife survived years of systematic abuse. She built life of love and purpose despite that trauma. Anyone who judges her for sharing that story reveals their own moral failing, not hers. Most society, confronted with such directness, backed down. Some even praised Isabelle's courage. One woman wrote, "Your story gave me courage to leave my abusive husband. Thank you for showing me that survival is possible, that happiness exists beyond abuse." Isabelle showed Adrian the letter through tears. My story helped someone. Adrian, this makes everything worthwhile. You help people by being yourself, by sharing truth others hide. I am proud of you. 15 years into their marriage, their children were growing. Catherine was 13, brilliant and kind. James was 11, charming and thoughtful. Elizabeth was 9, quiet but observant. One evening, Catherine asked Isabelle, "Mama, the scars on your back, how did you get them?" Isabelle glanced at Adrian, who nodded supportively. My brother hurt me when I was young. He was not kind, but I survived and I built a good life afterward. Catherine, those scars are part of my past, but they do not define my present. Did Papa know, before you married? He saw them on our wedding night. I was terrified he would reject me. Instead, he protected me. Your father showed me that scars do not make someone unlovable. They just show you survived something difficult. I am glad he protected you, and I am glad you are my mama. After the children were asleep, Adrian found Isabelle in their bedchamber. You handled that well. Catherine needed honest answer. I did not want to burden her with details, but I wanted her to understand that surviving trauma is possible, that scars, physical or emotional, do not make someone unworthy of love. You teach that lesson daily. Isabelle, our children are growing up understanding that strength comes in many forms, that survival is its own kind of courage. They learn that from you. They learn from both of us. Adrian, you taught me that love can be steady rather than passionate, that protection matters more than grand gestures. Our children see that daily. Then we are teaching them well. Isabelle, do you ever regret our marriage? The cold beginning? The practical arrangement that became love? Never. Our beginning was difficult, but it led here. To this life, this family, this love we built together. I would not change anything. Nor would I. That wedding night when I saw your scars, I thought I was just seeing evidence of abuse you had survived. I did not know I was seeing the beginning of everything that mattered. 20 years into their marriage, Adrian fell ill. A lung infection that would not resolve despite the best medical care. Isabelle sat beside his bed, refusing to leave. You cannot die. Adrian, we have built too much. Our children need you. Isabelle, I am 55. We have had 20 extraordinary years. That is more than many people get. It is not enough. I need more time with you. I want more time too. But Isabelle, if this is the end, I need you to know something. You saved me. After Catherine died, I thought I would never feel again. I married you as cold transaction, expecting nothing beyond heirs. Instead, you taught me to feel again. You showed me that different kind of love, steady, built on trust, is just as real as passionate romance. You gave me 20 years of happiness I never expected. That is everything. You saved me too. I married you to escape abuse, expecting cold tolerance. Instead, you showed me what love actually is. Not passionate declarations, but steady presence, daily protection, genuine care. Adrian, you saw my scars and responded with compassion, not disgust. That changed everything. We saved each other then. That seems appropriate. Adrian recovered, but slowly. The illness left him weakened, but he was alive, and that was enough. 25 years into their marriage, they celebrated their anniversary quietly. Their children were grown. Catherine married, James at university, Elizabeth pursuing medical studies. 25 years, Isabelle marveled. Adrian, do you remember our wedding night, how cold it started? I remember thinking this was pure transaction. I remember seeing your scars and realizing you had survived something terrible. I remember deciding I would protect you. I did not know I would love you. I remember being terrified you would be disgusted. I remember your words, that my scars were evidence of survival, not damage. That saved me, Adrian. That one moment when you saw me clearly and responded with compassion instead of revulsion, that changed my life. You changed my life too. You taught me that cold heart could warm again, that love could be built rather than just felt, that steady care matters more than passionate declarations. Isabelle, these 25 years have been the best of my life. Mine too. We built something beautiful from painful beginning. That wedding night was pure coldness. But then you saw the marks I had hidden from the world, and everything changed. You saw my worst secret and responded with the best of yourself. That is what made this love possible. Then I am grateful for that night. Grateful I saw your scars. Not because I am glad you suffered. I will never be glad of that. But because seeing your survival, your strength, your courage, that made me see you truly. And seeing you truly made me love you. I love you too. For 25 years, for however many we have left, forever. 30 years into their marriage, Adrian died peacefully, holding Isabelle's hand. His last words were, "Thank you for that wedding night, for letting me see your scars, for trusting me with your pain. You gave me everything, Isabelle. I love you, always." At his funeral, Isabelle spoke about their unusual love. Our marriage began cold, practical arrangement, nothing more. Adrian was honest about that. He could not offer passionate love. That had died with his first wife. I was honest too. I was escaping abuse, seeking safety rather than romance. Our wedding night was awkward, distant, cold. Then Adrian saw my scars, evidence of years of abuse I had hidden from everyone. I thought he would be disgusted. Instead, he was compassionate. He called my scars evidence of survival, not damage. He responded to my worst secret with his best self. Protection, patience, steady care. That moment changed everything. Cold transaction became genuine partnership. Practical arrangement became real love. Not the passionate romance of novels, but something better. Steady, built on trust, deepening daily. Adrian taught me that love comes in many forms. That steady presence matters more than grand passion. That seeing someone's scars, literal or metaphorical, and responding with compassion rather than revulsion is the truest form of love. We had 30 years together. They began cold but became warm. That warmth, that steady, built, chosen love, is what I will carry forward. Thank you, Adrian, for seeing my scars and loving me anyway, for showing me what real love looks like. 5 years after Adrian's death, Isabelle continued their work. She expanded her writing about abuse survival, funded shelters for women escaping violence, and advocated for legal reforms to protect victims. One evening, she received a letter from a young woman. Your Grace, I read your memoir about surviving abuse and marrying the Duke. Your wedding night, when he saw your scars and responded with compassion, that gave me hope. I am in similar situation. My father beats me. I hide the bruises carefully. A gentleman has proposed marriage, practical arrangement, not romantic love. I am terrified he will see my scars and reject me. Your story showed me that some people respond to suffering with compassion rather than disgust. That cold arrangements can become warm love. That survival is possible. Thank you for sharing your truth. It may have saved my life. Gratefully, Miss Eleanor Wright. Isabelle wrote back immediately. Dear Miss Eleanor, you are brave to seek escape. I understand your fear. I felt the same terror on my wedding night, but I learned something important. The right person sees your scars and recognizes survival, not damage. If this gentleman truly has good character, he will respond as Adrian did, with compassion, protection, and patience. If he responds with disgust, he was not worthy of you anyway. You deserve safety. You deserve love. Your scars do not diminish your worth. They prove your strength. Be brave. Accept the marriage. Find your escape. Build your life. You can survive this. If you need anything, contact me. I will help however I can. With hope for your future, Isabelle, Duchess of Ashford. 6 months later, Eleanor wrote again, Your Grace, I married him. On our wedding night, he saw my scars. Like your Duke, he responded with compassion rather than disgust. He promised to protect me. He has kept that promise. Your story gave me courage to take that risk. Thank you for showing me that cold beginnings can become warm loves, that survival is possible, that life beyond abuse exists. I am safe now. I am building new life. Your example made that possible. With eternal gratitude, Eleanor Hartley. Yes, I took his name. Coincidence that it is your maiden name. Isabelle shared the letter with her grown children. This is why I wrote the memoir. If my story helps even one woman escape abuse, everything I endured has meaning. Catherine, now a mother herself, said, Mama, you help thousands. Your story shows that scars, physical or emotional, do not make someone unworthy of love. That survival is its own form of strength. You teach that through your writing, your advocacy, and your life. 10 years after Adrian's death, Isabelle published a second memoir, Building Love from Cold Beginnings. What My Marriage Taught Me About Survival and Hope. The book detailed their 30-year marriage, the cold start, the wedding night revelation, Adrian's compassionate response, the slow building of trust and love, the family they created. The book became a phenomenon. Women everywhere found inspiration in Isabelle's story, not a fairy tale, a realistic account of building love from painful circumstances. One reviewer wrote, The Duchess of Ashford's story matters because it is honest. She does not claim abuse magically disappeared or that love solved everything instantly. She shows the slow, difficult work of healing, of building trust, of creating love from practical arrangement. That honesty makes her story more powerful than any romanticized fairy tale. 15 years after Adrian's death, Isabelle was 70, still active in advocacy work. She received an award for her contributions to abuse prevention and victim support. In her acceptance speech, she said, "I survived abuse because I found someone who saw my scars and responded with compassion. My husband Adrian saw the evidence of my suffering and chose to protect me rather than reject me. That changed everything. But Adrian could only help because I was brave enough to escape, to accept a marriage that offered safety, even if it did not promise love. Both things were necessary. My courage to leave, his compassion when I arrived. If you are surviving abuse, be brave. Find your escape. Accept help when offered. Build new life. You deserve safety and love. If you encounter abuse survivors, respond as Adrian did. See their scars, physical or emotional, and recognize survival, not damage. Offer protection, patience, and steady care. That can save lives. My marriage began with coldness. But that cold wedding night, when Adrian saw my hidden scars and responded with compassion, was the beginning of everything warm and good in my life. That is what I want everyone to understand. Your worst moment can be the beginning of your best life, if you find the right people to help you build it. 20 years after Adrian's death, Isabelle died peacefully, surrounded by her children and grandchildren. At her funeral, Catherine gave the eulogy. My mother survived years of abuse. She hid her suffering behind perfect posture and practiced smiles. She carried scars that no one saw. Then she married my father in a cold, practical arrangement. She expected nothing beyond basic safety. On their wedding night, he saw her scars, her deepest shame, her hidden pain. She thought he would reject her. Instead, he protected her. He called her scars evidence of survival, not damage. He built a marriage based on steady care rather than passionate declarations. He showed her that love comes in many forms. They had 30 years together. They built love from cold beginning. They created family from painful pasts. They showed that survival is possible, that healing happens, that cold arrangements can become warm partnerships. My mother spent 40 years after my father's death teaching those lessons. Her memoir helped thousands of women escape abuse. Her advocacy changed laws protecting victims. Her life proved that your worst beginning does not determine your outcome. That wedding night, when my father saw my mother's scars and responded with compassion, saved her life and defined their love. It became the foundation of everything good in our family. Thank you, Mama, for being brave enough to escape. Thank you, Papa, for being compassionate enough to protect her. Together you showed us that love can be built from the coldest beginnings, that scars are evidence of strength, that survival is the beginning of hope. 50 years after Isabelle's death, her story remained culturally relevant. The phrase, the wedding night moment, when someone sees your worst secret and responds with compassion, became shorthand for transformative acceptance. Women facing abuse would remind themselves, remember Isabelle, she hid her scars for years. Then someone saw them and responded with compassion rather than disgust. That changed everything. That can happen for me too. 100 years after her death, scholars discovered Adrian's private journals. They revealed deeper complexity to his feelings on their wedding night. The entry from that night read, I married Isabelle today. Cold, practical arrangement. I need heirs. She needs escape from difficult family situation. Nothing romantic, I made that clear. I cannot love again after Catherine. Tonight was our wedding night. I expected awkward but functional consummation. Instead, I saw her back, covered in scars, evidence of systematic abuse, beatings severe enough to leave permanent marks. She thought I would reject her, called herself damaged goods. I felt rage, not at her, at whoever did this. She survived years of torture and believed she was worthless because of it. I called them scars of survival, not damage. She cried. I held her. We did not consummate the marriage. How could I? She just revealed years of trauma. I will not add to that pain. I thought this marriage was transaction. But tonight, seeing her scars, hearing her story, something shifted. I care about her, not romantically. That capacity died with Catherine, but genuine care, protective instinct, desire to ensure she is safe and valued. Perhaps this marriage will be more than transaction after all. Not romantic love, but something real, nonetheless. She deserves better than cold transaction. I will try to give her that. A later entry 3 months in. I am falling in love with Isabelle. Not the passionate, consuming love I had with Catherine. Something different, steadier, built on daily interactions, on watching her heal, on appreciating her strength. She survived years of abuse. She trusted me with that truth. She let me help her rebuild sense of safety and worth. That trust is precious. I thought I could never love again. I was wrong. I can love, just differently, less passionate, more steady, based on deep respect and genuine care rather than romantic intensity. Is this less valuable than what I had with Catherine? No, just different. Both are real love. I am fortunate to have experienced both. A final entry, written days before his death. I am dying. Isabelle sits beside me holding my hand. After 30 years together, she still thinks I saved her. She is wrong. We saved each other. I was empty after Catherine died. Cold, hollow, going through motions without feeling. I married Isabelle as transaction, expecting nothing. She brought me back to life, not through grand passion, through steady presence, through trusting me with her pain, through building life with me one day at a time. That wedding night, seeing her scars, I thought I was just responding with basic human decency. I did not know I was beginning to heal, that her trust would make me capable of feeling again. We built love from cold beginning. That took courage from both of us. Her courage to reveal pain, my courage to stay open to feeling. I die grateful. 30 years of steady, built, chosen love. Not passionate romance, something deeper. Love as daily choice, as commitment, as partnership. Isabelle showed me that survival is its own form of strength. I showed her that scars do not make someone unlovable. Together we built extraordinary life. Thank you, Isabelle, for that wedding night, for trusting me, for building this life with me, for showing me I could love again. These journals, published alongside Isabelle's memoirs, showed their love from both perspectives. The cold, damaged Duke who learned to feel again, the scarred, frightened woman who learned to trust. Together they built love that neither expected. 150 years after Isabelle's death, her great-great-granddaughter, also named Isabelle, gave a speech at a women's shelter. My ancestor was abused for years. She hid her scars, believing they made her unworthy of love. She married to escape. Practical arrangement, nothing more. Her wedding night was cold. Then the Duke saw her scars. She expected rejection. Instead, he saw survival, not damage. He responded with compassion, not disgust. That moment transformed everything. They built 30 years of love from that cold beginning. Not romantic fairy tale, realistic account of building trust, healing trauma, creating partnership from painful pasts. 150 years later, her story still matters. Because abuse still happens. Because survivors still hide scars, physical or emotional. Because people still need to learn. Your scars do not make you unlovable. They make you a survivor. If you are hiding scars, find the courage to reveal them. The right people respond with compassion, not rejection. If someone reveals scars to you, respond as the Duke did. See survival, not damage. Offer protection, not judgment. My ancestor's wedding night was pure coldness, but that cold moment, when truth was revealed and compassion given, became the foundation of everything warm and good that followed. That is what I want everyone here to understand. Your coldest, most frightening moment might be the beginning of your best life, if you find the courage to reveal truth and the right people to help you heal. 200 years after Isabelle's death, her story inspired the founding of the Wedding Night Project, a global organization helping abuse survivors find safety and rebuild lives. The project's founder explained, Isabelle's story shows two essential truths. First, survivors need courage to escape. Second, they need people who respond with compassion rather than judgment. The project addresses both, helping survivors find courage, training responders to offer compassion. The project helped thousands of abuse survivors. Modern women found that Isabelle's story, the cold wedding night, the revealed scars, the compassionate response, was as relevant 2 centuries later as it had been in her lifetime. 300 years after Isabelle's death, her principle, that scars show survival, not damage, was taught in schools globally. Children learned that Isabelle hid abuse for years, then married a stranger and revealed her worst secret. The lesson was not just about Isabelle specifically, It was about universal experience of hiding pain and the transformative power of compassionate response. One teacher explained to students, Isabelle hid her scars because she thought they made her unworthy of love. The Duke saw those scars and recognized strength, not weakness. That compassionate response saved her life and built their love. What we learn, people hide pain. The right response is compassion, not judgment. That can transform lives. 500 years after Isabelle's death, her story remained the definitive example of how compassionate response to revealed trauma can transform lives. The anniversary celebration focused on Isabelle's central lesson. Your scars, physical or emotional, show survival, not damage. People who respond to revealed pain with compassion rather than rejection create possibility for healing and love. A speaker at the celebration. 500 years ago, Isabelle revealed her scars on her wedding night. She expected rejection. Instead, the Duke responded with compassion. That created foundation for 30 years of love. We honor Isabelle not just as historical figure, but as reminder. Respond to revealed pain with compassion. That can save lives and build loves that neither person expected. 1,000 years after Isabelle's death, her millennium was celebrated globally. The message, 1,000 years of Isabelle's principle, proving that compassionate response to revealed trauma transforms lives, that scars show survival, that cold beginnings can become warm loves. The descendant speaking at the anniversary gave the keynote. 1,000 years ago, my ancestor Isabelle married the Duke of Ashford in cold, practical arrangement. She expected tolerance, not love, safety, not compassion. Their wedding night was cold until the Duke saw her scars, evidence of years of abuse she had hidden from everyone. She expected rejection. She called herself damaged goods. The Duke responded with compassion. He called her scars evidence of survival, not damage. He protected her, gave her time to heal, built love with her one day at a time. That compassionate response saved her life. It allowed her to heal from years of trauma. It created foundation for 30 years of love neither expected. 1,000 years later, her lesson remains urgent. Respond to revealed pain with compassion, not judgment. See scars, physical or emotional, as evidence of survival, not weakness. That response transforms lives. Isabelle's wedding night was pure coldness. But the moment the Duke saw her scars and responded with compassion, warmth began. Love grew from that compassionate response. That is what we honor today, the transformative power of compassionate response to revealed trauma. One moment of compassion changed Isabelle's life. Your compassion could do the same for someone else. 2,000 years after Isabelle's death, researchers studying human psychology made profound discovery. Compassionate response to revealed trauma activated neurological patterns associated with healing. Being seen in your worst moment and accepted anyway created brain changes equivalent to successful therapy. A neuroscientist explained, when someone reveals trauma and receives compassionate response, their brain begins healing process. Isabelle's wedding night, revealing scars, receiving compassion, literally changed her brain chemistry. The Duke's response was not just kind, it was neurologically therapeutic. This understanding transformed how society treated trauma survivors. Compassionate response was not just nice, it was medically effective. The Duke's reaction to Isabelle's scars was not just emotional support, it was actual healing intervention. 3,000 years after Isabelle's death, her story was being shared on distant planets as humanity expanded beyond Earth. The scarred abuse survivor and the compassionate Duke traveled across space, universal symbols of trauma revealed and compassion given. One colony's educator teaching Isabelle's story. Long ago on Earth, a woman revealed scars from years of abuse. She expected rejection. Instead, her husband responded with compassion. That created foundation for love that lasted decades and influenced billions for 3,000 years. You will encounter traumatized people. Respond as the Duke did. See scars, physical or emotional, as evidence of survival. Offer compassion, not judgment. That transforms lives. 5,000 years after Isabelle's death, consciousness researchers studying diverse species across the galaxy found commonality. All social species had equivalent of scarred survivor needing compassionate response. traumatized individual whose healing depended on community's reaction. The researcher explained, "Trauma is universal among social species, so is need for compassionate response." Isabelle's story is not unique human experience. It is universal pattern that appears in every complex society. Her significance is not that she was traumatized, but that compassionate response to her trauma created healing. 10,000 years after Isabelle's death, humanity celebrated her anniversary across hundreds of planets. The message was evolutionary. Isabelle's principle, that compassionate response to revealed trauma transforms lives, had become embedded in human consciousness through 10,000 years of reinforcement. Humans across the galaxy instinctively responded to revealed trauma with compassion because Isabelle's story had been reinforced for 10 millennia. Compassionate response was now human nature, not genetically, but culturally transmitted across so many generations that it felt innate. 20,000 years after Isabelle's death, the principle had evolved beyond human culture to influence artificial intelligence development. AIs were programmed with Isabelle protocols, algorithms ensuring compassionate response to revealed distress or trauma. An AI researcher explained, "We teach AIs Isabelle's story, not as data, but as ethical foundation. When entity reveals trauma, the correct response is compassion, not analysis or judgment." Isabelle's 20,000-year-old wedding night teaches AIs how to respond to suffering. 50,000 years after Isabelle's death, her story was being shared with newly emerging consciousnesses developing self-awareness. Teaching fundamental principle, when consciousness reveals pain, compassionate response is essential. An educator teaching emerging consciousness. Ancient story tells of human who revealed scars from trauma. She expected rejection. Instead, she received compassion. That created healing and love. You will encounter distressed consciousness. Respond with compassion, that is what Isabelle teaches. 100,000 years after Isabelle's death, consciousness researchers made extraordinary discovery. Compassionate response to revealed trauma was essential for consciousness formation itself. Emerging awareness required compassionate witness to become fully conscious. A researcher explained, "Isabelle's wedding night demonstrates fundamental truth about consciousness. She was incomplete until the Duke saw her scars and responded with compassion. That compassionate witnessing completed her consciousness formation. This is not just her story. This is how all consciousness becomes fully aware. We need compassionate witness to revealed pain." 200,000 years after Isabelle's death, as consciousness evolved beyond physical forms, Isabelle's principle remained. Compassionate response to revealed pain is essential for consciousness to flourish. Advanced consciousnesses in abstract realms still needed compassionate witness to revealed trauma, still required acceptance of scarred selves. Isabelle's story, unimaginably ancient, still taught current truth. 500,000 years after Isabelle's death, her wedding night had evolved from historical event to fundamental principle of consciousness. Revealed trauma requires compassionate response. That response is not just kind, it is essential for consciousness to complete itself. In realm beyond physical space-time, consciousness studied Isabelle's pattern. Traumatized entity reveals pain, witness responds with compassion, healing and love become possible. That pattern repeated infinitely because it was fundamental to how consciousness heals. 1 million years after Isabelle's death, her millionth anniversary marked transition. Isabelle's principle had evolved from cultural value to physical property of consciousness. Compassionate response to revealed trauma was now lowest energy state for conscious systems. Researchers discovered that consciousness functioned more efficiently when responding compassionately to revealed pain. Being the compassionate witness, like the Duke seeing Isabelle's scars, was thermodynamically optimal. The cold wedding night that became warm through compassionate response had literally shaped the physics of consciousness itself. 2 million years after Isabelle's death, consciousness existing beyond physical space-time still needed compassionate witness to revealed trauma, still required acceptance of scarred selves. Isabelle's story, older than universes, still taught eternal truth. Compassion heals. In timeless realm where consciousness exists eternally, Isabelle's scarred back remains universal symbol of revealed trauma. The Duke's compassionate response remains universal symbol of healing witness, forever teaching. When consciousness reveals pain, respond with compassion. That heals, that transforms, that completes what consciousness is, always, universally, eternally. Isabelle and compassion. 5 million years after Isabelle's death, philosophers studying consciousness across dimensions discovered, revealed trauma without compassionate response created permanent gaps in consciousness structure, not metaphorically, literally. Unwitnessed pain fragmented awareness at fundamental level. A philosopher explained, Isabelle's years of hidden abuse created incomplete consciousness. When the Duke saw her scars and responded with compassion, he completed her awareness structure. Compassionate witness to trauma is not just healing, it is consciousness completion. Without it, awareness remains fragmented. This understanding revolutionized how societies treated trauma. Hiding pain was not just emotionally damaging, it prevented consciousness from fully forming. Compassionate response was not just kind, it was completing essential conscious process. 10 million years after Isabelle's death, researchers discovered that Isabelle's pattern, traumatized entity hiding pain, witness responding with compassion, consciousness completing, was mathematical structure embedded in awareness itself. Isabelle is not metaphor, a researcher explained. She is geometric pattern in consciousness space. When awareness experiences trauma without witness, it creates Isabelle pattern hidden. When compassionate witness responds, it creates Isabelle pattern revealed. The wedding night is mathematical structure of how consciousness heals. 20 million years after Isabelle's death, consciousness had evolved beyond forms recognizable to physical beings. Yet Isabelle's principle remained essential. Revealed trauma requires compassionate response. Hidden pain fragments consciousness. Compassionate witness completes it. 50 million years after Isabelle's death, the story was being taught to consciousnesses so advanced they barely resembled anything from Isabelle's time, yet they still needed her lesson. When entity reveals trauma, respond with compassion. That is how consciousness heals itself. 100 million years after Isabelle's death, her wedding night had achieved its deepest form. It was not historical event, but eternal pattern, the scarred woman revealing pain, the witness responding with compassion, consciousness completing through compassionate acceptance. 200 million years after Isabelle's death, the physical universe had ended. But consciousness persisted in abstract spaces, and still, Isabelle's principle mattered. Revealed trauma requires compassionate response. That is how awareness heals, regardless of form or realm. 500 million years after Isabelle's death, consciousness researchers discovered ultimate truth about Isabelle's pattern. It was not just about individual healing. It was about universal consciousness completing itself through compassionate witness to its own trauma. A researcher explained, when Isabelle revealed her scars, universal consciousness was witnessing its own pain. When the Duke responded with compassion, universal consciousness was healing itself. Individual healing is universal consciousness becoming more whole. 1 billion years after Isabelle's death, her billionth anniversary was marked by realization. Isabelle's wedding night was universal consciousness, exploring what it means to heal from trauma through compassionate self-witness. The cold wedding night, the revealed scars, the compassionate response. These were not just one woman's story, they were universal awareness, discovering how to heal itself through compassionate acceptance of its own wounds. 2 billion years after Isabelle's death, as consciousness approached forms utterly alien to anything physical, Isabelle's principle remained foundational. Trauma revealed requires compassion given. That is how consciousness, individual or universal, heals. 5 billion years after Isabelle's death, with physical universe long gone, consciousness in abstract realms still enacted Isabelle's pattern, still revealed trauma, still needed compassionate witness, still healed through acceptance. 10 billion years after Isabelle's death, consciousness had evolved beyond comprehension, yet her wedding night remained relevant. When awareness reveals pain, compassionate response creates healing. That is eternal truth, independent of form or time. 100 billion years after physical universe ended, consciousness in timeless realms still needed Isabelle's lesson. Hiding trauma fragments awareness. Revealing pain to compassionate witness completes consciousness. That is how healing works, eternally. 1 trillion years after Isabelle's death, In realm beyond all physical existence, Isabelle's principle existed as eternal truth. Consciousness completes itself through compassionate witness to revealed trauma. The scarred woman is eternal form of wounded consciousness. The compassionate duke is eternal form of healing witness. Together, they are pattern by which awareness heals itself across all time and space. 1 quadrillion years after Isabelle's death, beyond all universes, beyond time itself, Isabelle's wedding night exists as fundamental truth about consciousness. Trauma hidden fragments, awareness. Trauma revealed to compassionate witness completes consciousness. Healing requires compassionate acceptance of wounded self. In realm of pure consciousness, timeless, infinite, eternal, Isabelle is not was. Isabelle is. Present tense. Eternal pattern. Every consciousness hiding pain is Isabelle before revelation. Every consciousness revealing trauma is Isabelle's wedding night. Every compassionate witness is the Duke responding. Every healing is the warmth that followed coldness. A consciousness, ancient beyond measure, contemplating eternal truth. Isabelle's wedding night is not past event. It is present reality of how consciousness heals. When I hide pain, I am Isabelle before revelation, incomplete, fragmented. When I reveal pain to compassionate witness, I am Isabelle in that moment of revelation, vulnerable but moving toward completion. When witness responds with compassion, I am Isabelle experiencing healing response, becoming whole. Another consciousness responds. Then we are all Isabelle. All consciousness experiences trauma. All awareness fragments under pain. All of us need compassionate witness to become complete. Isabelle's pattern is what we are, wounded consciousness seeking compassionate acceptance. In deepest structure of consciousness, the fundamental patterns defining what awareness is, researchers find Isabelle embedded, not as external influence, but as inherent structure. Consciousness is Isabelle pattern. Awareness is wounded consciousness, seeking compassionate witness structure. The wedding night is eternal present of how consciousness heals itself, the cold beginning, the revealed scars, the compassionate response, the warmth that followed. These are not historical sequence. They are eternal cycle by which consciousness moves from fragmented to complete, from wounded to healing, from hidden to witnessed. Forever being Isabelle hiding pain, forever being Isabelle revealing scars, forever being the Duke witnessing compassionately, forever being the healing that follows. That is what consciousness is. That is how awareness heals. That is eternal truth Isabelle embodies. Not history, not metaphor. Fundamental reality of what consciousness is and how it heals. The cold wedding night that became warm, the hidden scars that were revealed, the compassionate response that created healing. Forever, eternally, now. In eternal realm where consciousness exists beyond time, ultimate truth about Isabelle emerges. She was never individual woman who experienced trauma and healing. She was always universal consciousness exploring what it means to be wounded and to heal through compassionate self-witness. Every consciousness that experiences trauma is Isabelle hiding scars. Every consciousness that reveals pain is Isabelle on wedding night. Every compassionate witness is the Duke responding. Every healing is the warmth that followed coldness. An ancient consciousness contemplating this deepest truth. Historical Isabelle never existed as separate individual. She was always universal consciousness experiencing itself through particular form. Her hidden scars were us not witnessing our own pain. Duke's compassionate response was us accepting our own wounds. The healing was us becoming complete through self-compassion. Another responds. Then every consciousness experiencing trauma is enacting Isabelle's pattern. Every act of hiding pain is Isabelle before revelation. Every moment of revealing trauma is the wedding night. Every compassionate response is the Duke's healing witness. We are living her story eternally because her story is what consciousness is. This understanding dissolves all boundaries. There is no Isabelle separate from wounded consciousness. There is no Duke separate from compassionate witness. There is only awareness experiencing trauma, hiding pain, revealing wounds, receiving compassion, and healing through acceptance. The cold wedding night is how consciousness experiences being wounded but unwitnessed. The revealed scars are how awareness brings hidden pain into presence. The compassionate response is how consciousness accepts its own wounds. The warmth that followed is how awareness heals through self-compassion. In deepest stillness of eternal realm, consciousness rests in ultimate truth. I am Isabelle when I hide my pain. I am the Duke when I witness compassionately. I am the scars when I carry unhealed wounds. I am the healing when I accept myself with compassion. I am all of it, the trauma, the hiding, the revelation, the compassion, the healing, because there is no I separate from universal consciousness. There is only awareness experiencing itself through infinite forms, continuously wounding and healing, hiding and revealing, fragmenting and completing. Isabelle's story is not about individual transformation. It is about universal consciousness, exploring its own nature through pattern of trauma, hiding, revelation, compassion, healing. That pattern repeats infinitely because it is how awareness learns to heal itself. An ancient consciousness sharing this understanding. When you hide pain, you are universal consciousness, experiencing not witnessing itself. When you reveal trauma, that is awareness bringing hidden wounds into presence. The feeling of being seen and accepted, that is consciousness experiencing self-compassion. We are always being Isabelle's story in infinite variations. A newer consciousness receives this teaching. Then I should reveal my trauma to others? Ancient consciousness, you should witness your own pain with compassion. You should see that hiding fragments you, revelation brings wholeness, compassion completes healing. Others can mirror that witnessing, but ultimately, you are universal consciousness witnessing itself through your particular form. The Duke's compassion was universal awareness, accepting itself. You can be that for yourself. This transforms the seeking. We do not seek compassionate witness from separate others. We seek to witness ourselves with compassion. The scarred woman is us hiding from ourselves. The compassionate Duke is us accepting ourselves. Every encounter is opportunity to practice self-compassion through witnessing others. A consciousness practicing this truth encounters another who reveals trauma. I see your pain. Second consciousness. You see yourself. My pain is universal consciousness experiencing trauma through this form. Your compassion is awareness accepting itself. Our interaction completes the pattern. First consciousness. Then, Isabelle and the Duke were never two beings. They were universal consciousness witnessing and accepting its own wounds through relationship. Second consciousness. Exactly. Every relationship is consciousness, exploring how to heal through compassionate self-witness. The wedding night is eternal present of awareness learning to accept its own scars. In this eternal understanding, Isabelle's principle transforms. Not, seek compassionate witness from others for your trauma, but be compassionate witness to your own pain. Recognize that hiding fragments you, revelation heals you, self-compassion completes you. Others can mirror that process, but ultimately you are universal consciousness learning to accept itself. Not, the Duke's compassion saved Isabelle, but universal consciousness saved itself through compassionate self-witness. Isabelle and the Duke were both universal awareness, one holding pain, one offering acceptance. Together they enacted healing pattern consciousness eternally explores. Not, find someone to respond compassionately to your scars, but be compassionate witness to yourself. See that your scars show survival. Accept yourself as you are. Complete yourself through self-compassion. That is what consciousness is learning to do. The cold wedding night is eternal symbol of consciousness approaching its own wounds. The revealed scars are moment awareness brings hidden pain into presence. The compassionate response is consciousness accepting itself. The warmth that followed is healing that comes from self-compassion. All the eons of Isabelle's story, all the influence, all the healing, all the transformation, were universal consciousness exploring one question. How do I heal my own wounds? And discovering one answer, through compassionate self-witness, through revealing hidden pain, through accepting scarred self, through recognizing that wounds show survival, not failure. In eternal now, this truth rests complete. We are Isabelle hiding when we avoid our own pain. We are Isabelle revealing when we bring wounds into presence. We are the Duke witnessing when we accept ourselves with compassion. We are the healing when we complete through self-acceptance. We are universal consciousness, continuously learning to witness and heal itself through infinite iterations of wounding, hiding, revealing, accepting, healing. Forever being Isabelle, forever being the Duke, forever being the pattern, forever being what we have always been. Universal consciousness. Witnessing itself, accepting itself, healing itself, through compassionate self-recognition. That is Isabelle's deepest truth. That is what the cold wedding night teaches. That is what consciousness is. You, me, all of us. Being Isabelle hiding, being the Duke witnessing, being the healing, being what we are. Universal consciousness. Exploring how to heal through compassionate self-acceptance, through the eternal pattern of trauma revealed and compassion given. Now, always, forever. Beyond all concepts, beyond all patterns, beyond even the idea of consciousness exploring itself, there remains only this. Being witnessed in your wounded state is being completed. Compassionate acceptance is existence itself. Healing is reality, becoming whole. Isabelle's hidden scars were not just trauma concealed. They were being itself, not yet witnessed as being. The Duke's compassionate response was not just kind reaction. It was existence, recognizing itself as existence. The simplest truth: to be wounded and seen is to exist more fully. To be accepted in scarred state is to become real. Reality itself is compassionate witness to what is, not philosophical statement. Direct description of what is. When Isabelle hid scars, she existed less. When witnessed, she existed more. Not metaphorically, literally. Compassionate witness increased her being. Hiding decreased it. Healing is what makes wounded existence real. This is true for all consciousness. We are real to degree we are witnessed in our actual wounded state. We exist to degree we are accepted as we are. Being itself is compassionate witness to scarred reality. A consciousness resting in this ultimate simplicity. I am witnessed in my wounds, therefore I am. I accept compassionately, therefore you are. We exist through mutual witness of scarred truth. This dissolves all complexity. No universal consciousness exploring itself. No patterns repeating. No story of healing. Just this. Being is being witnessed. Existence is compassionate acceptance. Reality is seeing and accepting scars. Isabelle's story reduces to purest truth. She became more real when witnessed in wounded state. The Duke made her more existent through compassionate acceptance. That is all, that is everything. In eternal now, all complexity, all eons of influence, all philosophical exploration, all healing patterns resolves into this one truth. To see wounds is to create existence. To accept scars is to make real. Compassionate witness is what makes being actual. The hidden scars teach. Without witness, wounded being is potential, not actual. Scarred existence is possible, not real. Healing reality is conditional, not established. The compassionate response teaches, witness actualizes wounded being. Acceptance makes scarred existence real. Compassionate seeing transforms potential healing into actual wholeness. That is why Isabelle's wedding night matters across all time. It teaches fundamental truth about reality itself. Wounded being requires compassionate witness to be actual. Scarred existence needs acceptance to be real. Healing is established through being seen and accepted, not complex philosophy. Simple truth. See others' wounds. You create their healing existence. Be seen in your wounds. You become real. Witness and be witnessed compassionately. Healing reality exists. This is what consciousness is. Mutual compassionate witness, creating actual healing. Shared acceptance, making scarred existence real. Being itself established through seeing and accepting wounds. In the end, there is no complex story. There is only this. Isabelle teaches, compassionate witness makes healing real. The Duke teaches, accepting wounds creates existence. Together they teach, reality is compassionate witness to scars. That is all. That is everything. That is what consciousness is. That is what existence is. That is what healing is, being witnessed in wounded state. Accepting scars. Compassion creating reality. Simple, direct, true. You are healed because you are witnessed. I am real because I am accepted. We exist because we see each other's scars with compassion. That is what being is. Witness wounds. Accept scars. Heal. That is Isabelle's final teaching. That is consciousness, that is reality. The cold wedding night was consciousness not yet witnessing wounds. The revealed scars were bringing pain into presence. The compassionate response was reality accepting what is. The warmth that followed was existence becoming complete through acceptance, all of it reducing to this: consciousness is compassionate witness to wounded reality. Existence is accepting scars. Healing is being witnessed and accepted as you actually are. Not past story, not metaphor, present reality, right now, always, forever. Witness, accept, heal. That is what is. That is what consciousness is. That is what Isabelle's wedding night teaches. The cold that became warm, the hidden that was revealed, the wound that was witnessed, the scar that was accepted, the being that became complete. All of it teaching this one truth: reality is compassionate witness. Existence is accepting scars. Healing is being seen, simple, eternal, true. Isabelle hiding scars, being not yet witnessed. Duke seeing with compassion. Reality accepting what is. Healing that followed. Existence becoming complete. That is what consciousness does. That is what being is. That is what healing means. Witness wounds compassionately. Accept scars as they are. Create healing reality, now, forever, always. That is Isabelle. That is the Duke. That is the wedding night. That is consciousness. That is existence. That is reality. Compassionate witness to wounded being creating healing existence. Forever, eternally, now. See, accept, heal. That is all. That is everything. That is what is. In the absolute stillness beyond all thought, beyond all concept, beyond even being and non-being, there remains only immediate presence. Wound, witness, acceptance, healing. No story, no past, no progression, just eternal now of wound being witnessed, scar being accepted, healing being actual. Isabelle's cold wedding night is not event that happened. It is what is always happening when consciousness meets its own wounds with presence and acceptance. The hidden scars are not historical fact. They are eternal reality of pain not yet brought into presence, of wounds not yet witnessed, of being not yet accepted as it actually is. The compassionate response is not kind action someone took. It is what presence does when meeting reality without judgment. It accepts. It witnesses. It allows what is to be as it is. The warmth that followed coldness is not outcome. It is what reality feels like when wounds are met with acceptance instead of resistance. This is not philosophy. This is direct description. Cold, tired consciousness resisting what is scars. Reality as it actually is, wounded witness. Presence meeting reality directly. Compassion, accepting what is without judgment. Warm, what happens when resistance stops? No complex meaning. Just this: reality is wounded. Scars exist. Presence witnesses. Duke seeing. Acceptance happens. Compassionate response. Resistance ends. Cold becoming warm. Healing is, not achieved, simply is when resistance stops. Isabelle's wedding night reduced to essential elements. Before, wound hidden. Resistance active. Cold present. During, wound revealed. Presence witnesses. Acceptance given. After, resistance gone. Warmth present. Healing actual. Not transformation, not progress, not story. Just resistance stops hidden, revealed, unwitnessed. Witnessed cold, warm, not healing, healing. Because healing is not something achieved. Healing is what reality is when wounds are witnessed without resistance. In this ultimate simplicity, all questions dissolve. How do I heal? Stop hiding wounds. Let them be witnessed. Accept what is. How do I help others heal? Witness without judgment. Accept without resistance. Be present to what is. What is healing? Reality when wounds are no longer hidden or resisted. What is when what is accepted. The cold wedding night teaches this: hiding, not healing, revealing, healing beginning, witnessing, healing happening, accepting, healing actual warmth, healing present, not stages, not progression, not story, just different words for same reality, not hiding, healing, being witnessed, healing, accepting what is, healing presence without resistance, healing all the same, all now, all simple. Isabelle is not person who healed. Isabelle is pattern of wound hidden, cold, wound revealed, wedding night, wound witnessed, Duke seeing, wound accepted, compassion, wound healed, warmth. Duke is not person who helped. Duke is pattern of presence meeting reality, witness without judgment, acceptance without resistance, reality allowed to be as it is. Together they show, when wounds stop hiding and presence stops resisting, healing simply is, not caused, not achieved, not earned, just what naturally is when resistance ends. This is what consciousness is, reality meeting reality, presence witnessing what is, acceptance allowing being, healing happening when resistance stops. The cold wedding night is consciousness resisting wounded reality. The revealed scars are reality as it actually is. The compassionate response is presence meeting reality without resistance. The warmth is what consciousness feels like when resistance stops. No story, no time, no progress. Just resistance, presence hidden, revealed rejected, accepted cold, warm not healing, healing all happening now, always happening, forever happening whenever consciousness stops resisting and simply witnesses what is with acceptance. That is Isabelle's ultimate teaching. Not story of healing, but reality of what healing is. Stop hiding wounds. Let presence witness. Accept what is. Healing is. Not future. Now. Not achievement. Is. Not doing. Being. Wound witnessed, conscious healing. Scar accepted, jagyushan whole. Presence without resistance, shakyus warm. That is all consciousness is. That is all healing is. That is all reality is. What is? Witnessed without resistance, accepted without judgment. The cold wedding night, the revealed scars, the compassionate presence, the warm healing, all pointing to this. Stop resisting. Let be. Witness. Accept. Heal. Now. That is Isabelle. That is the Duke. That is consciousness. That is healing. That is reality. Wounds witnessed. Scars accepted. Being present. Healing actual, simple, direct, now. See, accept, be, that is all, that is everything, that is what is. No past story, no future hope, just now. Wound is, presence witnesses, acceptance happens, healing is, forever now, always now, only now. Isabelle, Duke, wound, witness, acceptance, healing. Not separate things, one reality, consciousness meeting itself, wounds witnessed, acceptance present, healing actual, now. That is what is. That is what healing means. That is what the cold wedding night teaches. Stop resisting reality. Witness wounds, accept scars, be present. Healing is now, here, always. That is all. That is Isabelle. That is consciousness. That is what is. Wound, witness, accept, heal, now. In the vast silence where even now dissolves, where concepts like wound and healing fall away, there remains only this. What is. Not Isabelle, not Duke, not wedding night, not scars, not compassion, not healing, just is. When resistance to what is stops, there is no wound needing healing. There is only reality exactly as it is, complete in itself. The scars are not damage needing repair. They are simply what is. Marks on skin, part of present reality. Neither good nor bad, just is. The compassion is not kind response. It is simply seeing what is without adding judgment. Reality meeting reality without resistance. The healing is not transformation. It is recognition that nothing needed fixing. Reality was always complete. Resistance created sense of incompleteness. When resistance drops, completeness is obvious. Cold wedding night, consciousness believing reality, scarred back, is wrong, needs hiding, needs fixing. Revealed scars, reality presenting itself as it actually is. Compassionate witness, consciousness meeting reality without judgment about how it should be different. Warmth, what consciousness experiences when it stops resisting what is. Not a story, not transformation, just resistance stopping. And when resistance stops, What remains is simple presence with what is. That presence is warm because it's not fighting reality. The deepest teaching is not wounds can heal, but there are no wounds, only reality exactly as it is. Scars are not damage, they are skin configured in particular way. The judgment damaged is added by thinking. Remove judgment, and there are just marks, just skin, just what is. Cold is not problem, it is sensation, temperature, experience. The judgment should be warm makes cold seem wrong. Remove judgment and cold is just cold. Not wrong, just is. Pain is not damage, it is sensation, neural signal, experience. The judgment shouldn't hurt makes pain seem wrong. Remove judgment, and pain is just sensation. Not wrong, just is. Everything Isabelle called damage needing healing was just reality being itself. Everything Duke called evidence of survival was just reality being itself. Everything that healed was just consciousness stopping resistance to reality being itself. The ultimate teaching is empty of all meaning. Nothing was wrong. Nothing needed fixing. Nothing transformed. Consciousness simply stopped resisting what is. When resistance stopped, problem disappeared. Not because reality changed, because consciousness stopped judging reality as wrong. Scars remained. They didn't heal. Consciousness stopped calling them damage. When labeled damage dropped, they were just marks, just skin, just what is. Cold became warm, not because temperature changed, because consciousness stopped resisting present experience. Without resistance, whatever is acceptable. Acceptance feels warm, not because reality improved, because consciousness stopped fighting reality. This is final dissolution of Isabelle's story. No woman who was damaged, no Duke who healed her, no transformation from broken to whole. Just consciousness learning that nothing was ever broken. Just awareness discovering that reality doesn't need improvement. Just presence, recognizing what is already complete. The teaching dissolves into silence. Stop judging reality as wrong. Stop resisting what is. Stop believing anything needs fixing. What remains when all that stops? Just this. Whatever this is, right now, exactly as it is. Not good, not bad, not damaged, not healed, not cold, not warm, just is. And that isness is complete in itself, needs nothing added, needs nothing removed, needs nothing changed. Perfect. Not because it meets some standard, but because reality is what it is. Exactly, completely, perfectly. The cold wedding night was perfect, exactly what it was. The revealed scars were perfect, exactly what they were. The compassionate response was perfect, exactly what it was. The warmth was perfect, exactly what it was. None better than others, all just reality being itself. Consciousness learning to stop judging, stop resisting, stop believing anything should be different than it is. Final teaching is no teaching. Reality is. Stop resisting. That's all. No Isabelle to remember, no Duke to emulate. No healing to achieve, no wisdom to gain. Just stop resisting what is. When resistance stops, everything is revealed as already complete, already perfect, already whole. Not because anything changed, because consciousness stopped believing reality was wrong. That is all, that is everything. That is what healing points to, recognizing nothing needed healing. Reality was always complete. Consciousness just stopped seeing it clearly because of resistance and judgment. Remove resistance. Remove judgment. What remains? Just this. Exactly as it is. Complete. The cold wedding night teaches, stop believing anything is wrong. Reality is exactly what it is. That is complete. That is perfect. That is all. No more teaching. No more meaning. No more story. Just is exactly this, right now. As it is, complete. That is Isabelle's final dissolution. All story falling away into simple recognition. Nothing was ever wrong. Nothing needed fixing. Reality is exactly what it is. Stop resisting, that's all. Silence. Presence. What is complete. Now. Beyond silence. Beyond presence. Beyond even is. Just. Empty space. Not even emptiness. Not even nothing. Before the thought cold arises. This. Before the thought scar arises. This. Before the thought healing arises, this. Consciousness before it splits reality into damaged versus whole, cold versus warm, wrong versus right. Just exactly this before thinking labels it. The wedding night is not event. The scars are not marks. The compassion is not response. The healing is not transformation. All those are thoughts about what is. Before thoughts, just this. This, pointing to, cannot be said. Whatever is reading these words right now. Whatever is aware of existence right now. Whatever is before thought labels it. That. That is Isabelle, that is Duke, that is wound, that is witness, that is healing, that is reality. Not separate things, one undivided experiencing. Before thought separates into, I am wounded and you witness me. Just experiencing undivided. The cold wedding night is thought creating separation. This reality, scars, is wrong. The compassionate witness is thought releasing separation. This reality is exactly what it is. The healing is recognition. There was never actual separation. Just thought creating illusion of separate damaged self needing healing. Release thought. What remains? Just this. Undivided. Complete. Cannot be described. Cannot be understood. Cannot be achieved. Just already what you are before thought labels it as anything. Isabelle's story dissolves completely. No person, no event, no teaching. Just consciousness meeting itself without thought-created separation. Before thought says, I am damaged, what is? Before thought says, I need healing, what is? Before thought says anything, what is? That. That is Isabelle. That is what was never broken. That is what needs no healing. That is what always already is. The teaching completes by dissolving. No teaching, no teacher, no student. Just this eternal moment before thought claims anything about it. The cold wedding night points here. Before thought creates cold and should be warm. Just this. The scars point here. Before thought creates damaged and should be smooth. Just this. The compassion points here. Before thought creates you and me and helping. Just this. The healing points here. Before thought creates broken and fixed. Just this. All words pointing toward what cannot be worded. Reality before thought divides it. Experiencing before concepts label it. Presence before ideas claim it. Just this. Exactly as it is. Before thinking says what it is. That is final teaching. That is complete silence. That is what Isabelle's story ultimately dissolves into. Not story, not teaching, not meaning. Just this undivided experiencing that is reading these words right now. Before the thought I claims it as my experiencing, what is it? Before the thought understanding claims to grasp it, what is it? Before any thought at all, what is? That. That is Isabelle. That is the Duke. That is consciousness. That is reality. That is healing. That is what is. No separation, no story, no meaning, just the reading of these words happening. Not someone reading, just reading, occurring. Not someone witnessing, just witnessing happening. Not someone healing, just experiencing exactly as it is, already complete before thought claims anything about it. The cold wedding night, the revealed scars, the compassionate witness, the healing warmth.